Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. Barb, in fact, is your real estate voice and the host of the program, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many home sellers fear the inspection. Many people think most buyers want to purchase their home as is. So, what are some of the high cost home inspection traps that you've come across when selling homes?
Well, Richard, the usually it's stuff that they're not expecting. I mean, when I talk with sellers, I'll always ask them, "Hey, have you done anything with your sewer line?" And I would say probably 8 out of 10 times the answer is we've never had any problems. It's never backed up and they've never checked it, right? But it's something that their buyer is going to check. And the problem is when their buyer comes along, they bring Joe, Billy, Bob inspector that's not qualified to run a camera through their sewer line. I've had them drop things down the sewer line. I've had them break stuff. I've had them get that disgusting long wheel on their carpet. I mean, it's really frustrating because at that point in the sales process, they're already under contract. They're thinking their home is sold. And now their buyer is finding some flaws that have to be fixed that could cost anywhere from $3,000 to $13,000. That's a big ticket item that most home sellers don't want a surprise about. So the best thing to do is to try to anticipate all of those before you put your house on the market, because the majority of people don't do anything with their sewer line if there's no backups. I had one not too long ago where they checked the sewer line and everything looked fine. And then the next day it did back up, right? So why did that happen? I don't know, but some of these older systems are made with either cast iron or they're made with something called orange peel, which is kind of like a flexible pipe that over time, over 50, 60 years, it starts to degrade. And people don't think about what they're running down their sewer line. So if they drop wipes down there and they have a cast iron line, those wipes get caught up on the cast iron. And over time, it could cause a backup. But if you don't check it, you don't know it. If it doesn't back up, you think everything is fine. So you really want to know in advance if any of these big ticket items are going to hit you before you put your house on the market. Like we just last week, we replaced a furnace because it was 24 years old. It was beyond its quote useful life. And I happened to be talking to a furnace guy about another property, and he goes, "Hey, the laws are going to change after the first of the year. And if you have to replace a furnace, the newer furnaces are going to have to be more efficient and made with all this special materials. And it's going to cost you an extra $3,000 to replace the furnace next year versus this year." So we went ahead and did it just to save a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, you want to, and there's other things. Like recently on one of the inspections, I had the inspector tell the buyer to request this upgrade to the furnace. It was some sort of pan that had to be underneath the furnace or something. But that code is not required until 2026. So the seller went ahead and spent like $1,500 upgrading his furnace to something that wasn't even required yet. So you have to be able to anticipate this stuff as best as you can. And that's why I always recommend home sellers get a pre-inspection. Don't wait until you're under contract, you're under the gun, you're in the middle of moving, you think everything's fine. Lo and behold, oh, we got a problem with our roof. Whoa, we got a problem with our furnace. Whoa, we got a problem with our sewer or our septic. Those can be very big ticket items, and you want some time to negotiate. I just met with the seller yesterday and I was suggesting that they do that. And they're like, "Well, we've never had a problem." The normal answer that I get. And I said, you may not have a problem even on newer homes. I had one where, first of all, I got into a big cat fight with the real estate agent because I had my inspection policy that said these are my rules on inspection. You can't do things like this. You can't kick the seller out of their own home during the inspection. Would you feel good about that, Richard?
I would not feel good about that.
You can't have Joe Billy Bob, unqualified, unlicensed inspector check the sewer line because they don't know what they're doing. They break stuff, they drop stuff down in there. And, you know, what authority do they have to look at a system like that? So I was telling this agent, if you want to check the sewer line, you got to bring a plumber. And we got into this, you know, multiple term paper text battle on a Friday night over whether or not her inspector was qualified to check the sewer line. I'm like, he's not qualified. He's not qualified for anything. But I've known him for years. You know, I said, you might have known him for years, but does he have a plumber license? No, he doesn't. You know, and she, well, you can't tell me what I can and can't inspect. And I said, look, just ask your buyer. So finally, her buyer says, yeah, I'm fine with the plumber doing that. So plumber number one came out, checked the sewer line. Sewer line was fine, but the clean out, which is if they had put in a clean out in the newer homes, have them, it's usually a pipe that comes up out of the yard, and it is an opportunity to go into the sewer line from there versus pulling toilets inside the house. Because a lot of sellers don't like it if an inspector comes in and pulls a toilet, you know, without asking permission, because you don't know if they're going to properly reseat the toilet and put a new ring and all that stuff. So so he checked the sewer line. Sewer line was fine, but the clean out pipe that came up out of the yard was bent and fractured. It probably happened on landscaping. And that plumbing company was insisting there wasn't just one, there were two clean outs. And his bid to repair that little broken pipe and go dig up the whole entire front yard to find the alleged second one was anywhere from $3,500 to $4,200. And the seller's like, whoa, wait, can we get another bid? And I said, absolutely. So we brought in plumber number two. And he goes, first of all, that year, they didn't require two clean outs. There was only one. So you're not going to need to dig up the yard. And second of all, that plumber could do the bid for $600 versus $4,200. So you want time to shop around. You don't want to wait until you're under the gun and you're moving and you're under pressure to get this done to find out if you've got to deal with a big system like that. And so some other stuff that, like, septic is probably another one that takes more lead time than any other system. So if you're in a home that has a septic system, it's not obvious if the leach field fails. That's where the water comes through and it drains out and all that stuff. And I'm not a systems person, but basically, sometimes with different older systems can ultimately fail, and they're very, very expensive to replace. Typically, it could range anywhere from, I'd say, 28,000. I've seen bids as high as $50,000 to repair a broken septic system, and I've seen them low too. It just depends, but you want to know in advance. And then you've got the other problem of having to get a bid through the county. You have to have an engineer design the system. You have to do a soils test before that. All those things take time, and you definitely don't want to wait until the last minute to look at stuff like that. You have to get it done in advance. Otherwise, it could delay whatever closing that you have, or worse yet, maybe even lose the buyer. Another major system that gets hit a lot are electrical systems. You know, most of the inspectors will try to impose today's building code on today's new building code on older homes. So they'll say, well, it's required that you have to have a GFCI everywhere there's water. Well, that's not required. It wasn't required when the house was built, but it might be required now. You don't have to upgrade your home to today's standard, but there's certain brands of electrical panel like Federal Pacific panel that have a really, really bad reputation. If you read online, it'll indicate that at any time if the circuit gets overloaded, the house is going to catch on fire. So most of the time, the inspectors almost insist on it getting replaced. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to take place. It could be that brand or that model of the panel may not be the one that was hazardous, but you want to know that in advance is my whole point of this segment. You don't want to wait until the buyer's inspection is bearing down on you. And now you've got, a week or two to make a decision, get a bid, and get it at least funded out of the closing. Plumbing, typically, I see inspectors will come in and they will just fill up the tub, and they will usually overrun the sink, and then they'll cause a leak and say there's a leak. So there's usually a lot of battles around plumbing that you have to deal with. And then appliances. So just so you know, even though a lot of home sellers are including refrigerator, washer, dryer, maybe bar fridge, those are personal property. So if they are included with the sale, if you don't get the agent to protect you from those systems, it could mean that if they come along and discover, oh, well, the ice maker's not working right, so you're going to have to fix that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. These are a gift to the buyer. So typically I will make sure there's something in the contract that says is offered as a courtesy as is. Should they fail, contract to closing, seller's not going to replace them. However, we can include a home warranty that will cover those systems. And that's why you really want to market the home pre-inspection, pre-certified, all that kind of stuff, so that you know for sure that you're getting to the finish line without having the inspection absolutely derail your process. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are interested in selling your home, you want to call Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about why home sellers should sell their homes as a certified pre-owned home. Barb, what are some of the other home inspection issues that you've seen come up?
Well, another thing that comes up probably most commonly on almost every home is the roof. In this climate, we have a lot of hail damage. A lot of people will tell me, my roof's not leaking. What is the problem? However, these composite shingle roofs will degrade over time if they get hit with hail. And again, you want to know that in advance. You definitely want to be able to get multiple bids and confirm that that's the right approach to deal with that issue if there is one. And we have roofers that will give me a roof certificate for free. Sometimes they won't certify the roof without doing some minor repair, but what I like is that they're honest with me. They'll tell me, okay, the roof is shot, or roof is fine, it just needs a little bit here and there. Decking also gets hit a lot. But roofing probably is something that you definitely should check out. Sometimes I'll see windows get hit if they have a broken seal, or that kind of stuff. And generally stuff that is obvious that you have to fix, broken glass, missing outlet covers, all that kind of thing. It's always good to get a pre-inspection. That way you know what the list is. You don't have to fix everything, but at least you know, and you can get bids and get the peace of mind that you need, that going into it, you're going to pass your inspection. And with the included home warranty, the buyer has the peace of mind that they're getting a good house. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker. Let me do that. Clear my throat here. I'm sorry. You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900, or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, when it comes to buyers and when it comes to selling homes, you've got some hot new listings. Tell us about them.
I do. I have a really cool home owned by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs out in Yippee-Yoder, as I love to call it, on 35 acres. Great home, actually, great views. Just needs a little bit of TLC to make it perfect, priced at the low price of $199. We have another home owned by the VA up in Florissant on County Road 100, priced at $260. Super cute 2-bedroom house, gorgeous setting. Just needs a buyer that can do a little bit of work. An amazing house on Autumn Heights Drive. That home was just priced down at $299. Another lovely home at 2436 North Mead at $325. A beautiful rancher in the 80917 zip code at $424,999. An amazing home very close to UCCS, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, great backyard, priced at $439,999. An amazing home on Ross Drive on 1 acre with 4-car garage space, plenty of room to spread out at $759,999. A great home down in Pueblo on 13th, priced in the low threes. Another amazing home on Stevens Drive in the low fours on 2 acres. Another VA home on Domi Kite. This is a townhome priced in the low threes. And a beautiful home on Capitol Peak Way, big ranch with a finished basement in the low fives. And an amazing home also on Broadmoor Bluffs. And we've got many more coming. We've got a couple of homes coming up, one up on Rampart Range that'll be available next week. And some of these represent some of the best buys on the market. So go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on our featured properties to see all of them. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Give her a call if you're thinking of making a move. That number is 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That'll do it for this week. Barb, have a great week. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.